new day the Lord has made and you're going to rejoice and be happy. Siku ambayo nimepata mgeni, sijui nitasema mgeni mashuhuri, but a dear friend of mine, a former colleague. Her name is Alice Njambi. Thank you so much Njambi kukubali kukuja hapa katika kikao cha Sema na JG. Umekaribishwa sana.
Asante.
And before niongee na Njambi, I would like to thank Gracia Gardens kwa nafasi hii kutukubalisha ama kuturuhusu kukaa chini hapa na kuwa na kikao hiki. Njambi, the last I checked you were selling media.
Yes, I was.
Are you still selling media?
You transitioned into coaching. Life coaching to be specific, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Unajua nikisikia coaching, my mind goes to football.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a very good analogy, actually, because it's almost the same thing. Like what I usually say is, you see, like the footballers, they're very good, they have talent and everything, but they enroll the services of a coach in order, you know, a footballer akiwa kwa pitch, coach akiwa nje anamwangalia anamwambia, with your potential, you should, you know, the formation should be this way, you should move to this side, you've got this talent which you should use this way. So the same thing when it happens, the same thing when it comes to life coaching. A life coach does not come to teach you anything. I mean, if by anything you already know. A life coach comes in to support you in becoming the greatest version of yourself, and to support you in achieving your own potential. So what a life coach does is, I come, I sit with you, and then we discuss where you're at,
yes,
and where you wish to be, and what is the gap. So I, as a life coach, come in, and my role is to play the bridge between where you're at and where you're headed. And my role is to just give you one thing, that is results, give you value.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you walk the journey with me.
Exactly.
And I believe kila mtu anahitaji a life coach.
Yes.
Even the very senior people, the CEOs.
Exactly.
Na ma CS wetu.
True. Very true. In fact, I usually say, sorry, just to add, I usually say, if people ask me who needs a life coach, I usually say no one, because yes, we are all our own leaders in our own lives, yeah?
Sure.
But just like the footballer that you had mentioned,
yes,
no one needs a life coach. But even the greatest athletes and footballers actually enroll a life coach, I'm sorry, a coach, for support so that they can become their very best. So the same thing in life, yeah.
Okay. Wow. I've heard about coaching. I think I've encountered a few people. I even went for some training about coaching, and my experience was great. So I would encourage everyone. Do you, by the way, charge? How do you get your customers?
Yes.
What happens? You approach companies or you approach individuals?
Okay. I do have two different options. I do offer one-on-one coaching, where now we can sit with you, you and I as you as an individual, and we work through your goals. That's personal coaching. Then I do offer group coaching as well, where if it's a group of ladies, like we just recently did a program, a group coaching program on self-awareness.
Wow.
Just last week.
Sounds interesting.
Yes, it was very interesting, because the thing about self-awareness is most of us think we know ourselves. Like mimi ungeniuliza probably 4 years ago, before life happened and I got divorced and all. If you'd have asked me,
to that.
if you'd have asked me, I'd have said najijua, you know, like
I
who
know
doesn't
who I
know
am.
themselves. Exactly, but I've come to realize that we think we know ourselves, but we have really no idea who we are, what we are capable of achieving, and all that.
Our potential.
Yeah. And it's amazing that that journey is what actually took me into life coaching, that transformational journey for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it started with you.
Yes.
Then you realized you can offer something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, back to why you're here. Why are you single?
Good question. I am single because, unfortunately, things did not work out. I was married to this wonderful, amazing gentleman, but things didn't work out. And that was like what, 4 years ago? Yeah. So that's
Mulioana how long?
We were together initially for 6 years.
What do you mean by initially?
Initially, before tuseme sawa acha tukae tuoane. So we had dated. Let me put it that way.
Dated for 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Alafu mukaishi how long?
5 years. So we were together for...
mungeendelea kudate. Mungeachana na ndoa mudate because you were doing better when you were dating.
Actually, we were doing better because at that point mnakosana, kila mtu anaenda kwake. You know, anaenda kwake, anaenda kwangu. So you miss each other, then you come back together.
Come over.
Exactly, you come back together. But now you're married. Mnakosana unaenda wapi?
Hakuna, hapo hapo.
Exactly, and maybe what I can put is marriage just opened. There's so many things that were off, and marriage just was the eye opener of whatever was there, whatever it is that we were running from. For those 6 years, marriage just made it obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into issues which you requested that we don't discuss because really doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
But you also opted to discuss about the lessons you learned in your marriage and outside marriage and while you were dating. So, but I would like to understand. So at what point did you just decide, you know what, marriage, kwaheri?
It was a journey. I keep on saying I don't think there's anyone, hata wenye unasikianga aliamka akaenda. It just doesn't happen like that. People just don't decide, you know what, I've gone. It's a mental process that has happened for a while. And on my end, it is something that had happened for probably a couple of years. It was at the back of my mind. And funnily enough, that year, that was 2017, this is the amazing part. I remember on first, I like journaling a lot. And on 1st of January, I wrote on my diary. And I wrote
2017?
2017,
Ukachukua kitabu, ukaandika,
yes.
1st January.
Yes.
Mwaka mpya.
Yes, when I was putting down my thoughts, I was like, my God, I don't like how this is heading. And there's something that he had done that was totally off and so unlike him. And I remember writing down that, my God, the way things are going, the end is near, and I can tell. And God knows whether by the end of the year we'll be together. Little did I know it wouldn't even take 3 months.
Did you share?
With him or?
With him.
Najua
kuna mtu anamwambiaga wacha nikwambie.
We used to share. We used to share in the arguments, in the fights. You know, it's amazing how people say the truth. But at that point, I guess utaki kuamini. When someone tells you, I don't know why I married you, or tunafanya nini pamoja, or just leave, or you know, like I am tired. You know, and that's what I keep on saying. When someone tells you that, or when you yourself you're thinking that,
or you feel that way.
Yeah, or you feel that way, then those are alarms that are telling you there's something wrong with this situation. But most of the time, what I have found out from my own experience, and even just watu wengine tukiongea, is we happen to be very unconscious creators. Unaiona ndio inakam, but it's like, you know, you're walking, there's a trailer coming, but you can see it coming, but you never ask yourself, okay, fine, this trailer is coming, it will hit me, nitaumia, so how do I get out of the way? Unatembea tu, and you're just yes, and you're there with a hope and a prayer that it won't crash you, and you can see it. As in, it's so funny that is what we do. Like we knew this thing is heading south. Okay, although we tried to sort it out, but the way we did it was not the right way. It was more of everyone is trying to sort it out from their point of, they're seeking control.
Yes.
So he's seeking control of the situation from this point of view, and I am seeking control as well from this other side. instead of us guys tukae chini tuseme okay yenyewe this thing
Haiwork.
unaumia naumia, so how do we help each other?
Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Let me ask you a difficult question. Did you love him as you were separating?
Yes,
Because
yes.
nasikiaga wengine wakisema mapenzi yalikuwa yameisha.
It's amazing. There was a lot of love. Did I ever think that he loved me? Yes, I think he did love me a lot. And I loved him as much. But what I have realized from my own experience is love is never enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
For us to have what we call conscious relationships, which is something that I'm very keen on and I love talking about.
Yes.
Love is not the main thing, because love is like this. It has patterns. Love, ni kama iko hivi. You know, there are times you guys, you'll want to just mnashikiliana tu, you don't want to, you know, let go of each other's hands, and there are times you don't even want to see each other. So
Hata kusikia sauti.
exactly. So what is that one thing that will hold you together when your love haiko? And I share with my friends and I tell them, you know what, at some point pia love just goes.
Yes.
And at some point, when things are happening, love just goes out of the window. Like, for example, you're in a situation where maybe the guy has cheated. At that point, are you thinking, I love him? No. At that time, yes, akili yako iko somewhere very different. Love is not there. So when love is not there at that point, what is that thing that will hold you together?
People say it's friendship. Is it true?
I think
That friendship can hold you together. When everything else fails, friendship can just hold you guys together.
I think it's one of the things that can hold you guys together. It's very important that you be friends. And friends here, I mean authentic friendships, you know, where I can be myself and you can be yourself, and we can just give each other the freedom and the space to be who we are. And apart from friendships, I think growth is also very important, because most of us get into relationships with, oh, I love him, he loves me, so tumewana, and then mnapata, oh my God, there is more to life than just, you know, love won't pay the rent, love won't sort out those issues when mumekosana and volumes are huku. So what exactly is it that will be able to help you guys? And like I was mentioning, growth is such a huge factor, but most of us are afraid of growth. We stifle each other's growth.
Yes.
Yet, growth is a very huge part of a relationship. Am I growing individually? Are you growing individually? You know,
growing.
Am I supporting you in your growth? Are you supporting me in my growth? In this relationship, do we have goals? Where are we heading?
Okay.
So are we growing? Because we might have all the love, but if we are not aligned that way, we'll just frustrate each other, despite loving each other.
Nikurudishe kwa your relationship. So 1st January umeandika utatoka, and 3 months later umetoka. Are you the one who left or he left?
Actually, 1st January sikuandika nitatoka. I just said, my God, this is
not working.
Yeah, this is not working, and it looks like it's the end. Then, yeah, 3 months later, that happened. I had foreseen it, like you're mentioning, but I had no clue it would be that fast. I'm the one who left, but when I look at it, it doesn't really matter who leaves. I think what is the constant factor between the two, the lefter and the left and the lefted.
Yes, the lefter and the lefted.
Yeah, I think the common factor between the two is they're both hurting. The person who's leaving, no one leaves because, oh, life is so good, so I'm leaving. No one leaves because of that. So, yeah, both are hurting, and I think that's the main thing.
Kulikuwa na watoto?
Yes.
Do they know that you guys separated? Do they ask questions?
Yes.
How have you dealt with that?
It was, in fact, for them, it was very we had not discussed, we had not shared, he had not said anything, I had not said anything. So it so happened that I had not even planned to leave on that particular day. It just so happened that that week before I left, there was so much drama that had happened that was not emotionally healthy for myself and for him as well. And I had actually shared with people around me. I had shared with my own mom. I had shared with his mom as well. And I had said, by the way, this is what is going on. And misioni, by the way, like, tutaweza kukanisha.
Najaribu kutafuta kale ka light at the end of the tunnel. Sikaoni naona tu kigiza.
Yeah. And I remember I had that conversation, I think, on Wednesday with both parents, and I left on Saturday.
Did they support it?
I don't think there's ever a parent who says,
it's okay, you can go.
Yeah, leave, because our parents want the best for us.
True.
They want us to be in a loving marriage where, you know, there's peace and harmony. But at the same time, they do not want you to stay in a marriage where you're emotionally and psychologically drained, the both of you. So, and at that point, I was not even, how do I put it? I was not asking, should I leave, should I not? I was actually more of sharing, this is
what is happening.
Yeah, this is what is happening. In case mukiwai kusikia the two of us are not together, just know these are the events that are going on. And yeah, it's not making sense.
Wow.
And I remember for me, it's something that I had thought about for a long time, though I did not know that I would live on that particular day. But part of what really made me think, chenye tunafanya si poa, is I remember looking at my eldest child, who's 13 now. She was probably, what, 8? 8 at that point, and thinking, my God, this girl has a very, how do I put it, a very crooked view of how relationships are. This is not how relationships are supposed to be. And I remember looking at her and thinking, 30 years later, I'm in her house and I'm seeing all this drama.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, this is what she saw at home. This is what she thinks a normal relationship is.
Should be, yeah.
I am here, he is here thinking we are staying together for the sake of the children, but we're just hurting our kids, we're just wounding our children. And at that point I thought it makes more sense when we take care of the kids and everyone has their own peace of mind, and we can take care of them better than thinking, having mother and father in the same house it's always a good thing. And I mean, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but
the ideal family.
Exactly. But if it's not working, I think then there comes a time where you have to make that very difficult decision.
Wow. Tunaendelea kuzungumza na Alice Njambi. We take a short break. Tukirejea, tutakuwa tukijua what lessons has she learned. What is her advice to people who are in marriage, or people who are dating, or people who are intending to get married? Endelea kutegea Sema na JG. Kindly remember to subscribe to our channel. Alice Njambi, welcome back.
Thank you.
Umeniambia your story, and I like the way you're putting it, that this wonderful gentleman, kwa sababu ni nadra sana upate mtu anasema ati my husband was a wonderful man, my husband is a gentleman. More often than not tunaanzaga kutumia maneno makubwa about them. On that one, nakushukuru sana. So, you dated for 6 years. You were married for 5 years. You've been out of marriage for another 4 years. Ni 4 ama ni 3?
Yeah, 4. This is the 4th year.
Kwa hizi stages zote, what are the lessons zenye unaweza ambia mtu ambaye anatazama sasa hivi? What have you learned
For starters, let me start by saying I never used to say he was a wonderful gentleman. In fact, after the split, I was going through so much pain. And I think typical of anyone going through this process, I was just yearning, yani niko nangoja tu mtu aniulize, ako aje? Niwaambie, come I tell you, you know, alifanya, hakufanya, alisema, this is what they did. I was loving.
Would you cry? Would you get emotional at some point?
Yes, I would. A whole lot, and I would have this pity party, and I would feel so nice, you know. And people would say, "Yende alikosea," and I'd feel, you see, I'd feel
You've
so
achieved.
I'd feel so vindicated. I'd go like, "Kenyewe." Then I think I did that for a whole 2 years, and then at some point, kanza kujuliza, wait a minute. I left, but I'm still feeling horrible. No, I left, I'm still feeling totally off. I left and I am still feeling there's something amiss. So hata nikienda nikiambia watu alifanya hakufanya, alisema hakusema, hainisaidii. At the end of the day, I am still feeling off. So how do I change this? And that is how I got into my whole transformation journey, because it was not easy, because at that point nikaanza kujiuliza, wait a minute, umse akuwa kwa hii marriage peke yake, tulikuwa wawili. So it takes two to make a good marriage. It also takes two to just have a funny kind of marriage. So if it takes two to also have a funny kind of marriage, so I was part of that half. So what was my responsibility?
And contribution.
Exactly. What was my contribution? How did I show up? How did I show up for myself? How did I show up for him? How did I show up for the whole relationship? What did I do that was right? What did I do that was wrong? And it wasn't easy. I keep on saying it's so much easier to kusema alifanya hakufanya, alisema hakusema, than it is to look at your own self and say, yenyewe hata mimi bedhe hapo. Because if you were to ask me back then, I was the Proverbs 31 woman. Niko najua tu niko sawa tu. Until now you go through evaluation and go like, even you, by the way, you were just, you just had a role to play just as he had, and this is your role. This is what you did, and so this is how you ended up here. And so you've ended up here, you don't like it, so what next? How do you... Exactly.
Do you co-parent?
Yes, we do. We do co-parent.
How?
We had to get to a point where we agreed, you know what, so much has happened, but let's put the kids first. And putting the kids first, meaning that, you know what, tunaweza kuwa tumekosana to agree here and there, but yeah, they are the most important things, the most important thing in the relationship that we still have. So how do we show up for them? And we had to agree on a few things. Number one was I had to stop painting him as this evil guy, which happens a lot when divorce happens and umebeba mauchungu, and you want to show your kids how babako ndiye alikosea, babako ndiye alifanya, but even when you're telling your kids that wasaidi, they don't need to know the relationship that you had, the husband wife, hiyo ni yenu.
Yes.
So he's their father, he will never change, you know. And do you want them to have a picture of a father who is, I don't know, who is irresponsible, who is nasty, who is aiwasaidi? You're
actually hurting them.
Exactly, exactly. You're inflicting emotional and psychological wounds on your kids. And this is what happens, like I was mentioning earlier, this is what happens. You do that, you're wounding, you're wounded, you're bleeding, you bleed on your kids. Then you hurt your kids. They bleed on theirs. Yeah, then they bleed on theirs, then their kids bleed on theirs. And what you have is a generation of, people who are so wounded.
Yes.
Yet we have this ability to stop the wounding. We can say by the way itaisha hapa. And how it ends here is I might not be so happy with what he did, but for the sake of my children, whatever happened between me and him is what happened between me and him. He is their father. So sitasema oh hata unawatoi because I want to punish him. And the same way he used to show up for them, because he was and still is a very good father, is the same way he should show up for them, even now, even when we have split. And it calls for a lot of you put your pride uko, you know, you unafungua kabati unaiweka, you put your ego, you put your I am right, he's wrong, nini.
You get crushed and vulnerable and focus on the kids.
Exactly.
How long did it take him kuanza kuja kuona watoto?
How long did it take? It took a while. It took a while because probably maybe a year or two. Okay, what would happen is he would come and pick them. Even before he would come, pick them, and we would not speak, because at that point there was still so many raw emotions.
Yes.
But angekuja awachukue aende awarudishe. But at some point we're like, okay, yenyewe, you deal with yourself, I deal with myself. This is how we show up for them. And we're not showing up for them to think we are getting back together, but we have to man up or woman up, so to speak, so that for the same thing I was talking about, so that we don't wound our own children, so that they know, by the way, dad and mom might have split up, but they still love us as much, you know.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Kwamba hakuna mtu aliachilia watoto. And I like it because those kids will grow up knowing you can have your differences, but that should not affect the kids involved in that union.
Exactly.
And what's your take on people who separate?
People separate for, I guess, different reasons.
Yes.
But from my own experience and from conversations with people around me is most of the time people separate because they're looking for a way out. They're looking for a way out of this, I don't know, emotional baggage that they have or mental. But most of the time it really has to do with the other person. It has very much to do with you. Like I'm divorced myself, but I always encourage people in marriage, stay. Unatoka unaenda wapi?
Utakutana sasa na mageneral huku nje, kana wako.
Exactly, stay.
Before you meet the generals, wenye wako nje, yes.
Stay, remind yourself why you got into that relationship, you know, for whatever reason you got into it, remind yourself. And most of the time, I always say, work on yourself. Work on yourself, because I always say people will only take you the way you take yourself.
True.
So if many ladies will say, oh, but that man insults me, he abuses me, I don't know, not even talking about physical, because for physical, I always say, please leave.
Yeah.
You know, if you're being
when
harmed,
it gets physical, walk out.
Yes, but most of the time it's usually we are the ones who give the other person permission to treat us the way
they do.
Exactly. So by the time, if you don't work on yourself, you will leave, and then what happens is you have the same patterns. You will go and date the same man out there. And then what happens, you start wondering, men are all the same. Then before you know, we shall join Men Are Trash movement. And believe you me, you'll be meeting that trash every day because that is where your mind is at, and you'll just be convinced, but that is not true. So
nasikia kusema somebody say hallelujah. So
no,
are men the same?
No, but I do not believe men are trash. I don't.
Have you tried dating after the separation?
Yes, I have.
How did it go? Or you still dating, or are you seeing someone?
It's been interesting, and I have to say, so many learnings.
Yes.
The first one that I have learned is you can only love someone from your point of consciousness, as in from where you are yourself. If you're emotionally wounded and you haven't taken care of those wounds, you will attract a wound mate, you know.
Well.
You'll attract someone who, for example, a victim will always attract an abuser. And then you'll always be wondering, how comes I get guys who treat me like trash? You know, how comes I get guys who just misuse me? How comes I get guys who just want me for my money? But the thing is, it's not about their guys, it's about you. So
wow. Hey, Njambi. It's about you, the person.
Exactly.
Yes, and level yenye unaruhusu mtu akutreat hivyo hivyo, they'll do exactly that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I always say when you come out of a relationship, just take time to heal, take time to recover, because unless you do that, you're going to attract a wound mate, thinking that it's a heart mate, and you attract each other very unconsciously. By the way, no one ever goes out and says, "But then I'm so emotionally wounded. I'm looking for someone who will, come and match my wounds." It's very unconscious, and what happens is, even without knowing, the energy that we put out. And that is one thing that I always say, we are energetic beings. You know, someone will walk into the room and you'll either want to talk to that person, or there are people who walk into the room and kila mtu anataka kukimbia, and it's the energy that you're putting out, and that energy is from within. So before you come up with that list and say, this is the kind of a man I want.
Yes.
When you put down that list, are you that kind of a woman? Because what will happen is you'll come up with that list and say, ndo nataka. But if you are not that person, you will either meet that person, and when you meet, it won't stay for long, because you are not aligned. You're not like vibrating on the same frequency, so to speak.
Yes.
Or you're going to attract the frequency that you're on, which is the wounds that you're carrying. And you'll always be wondering, how comes I just date guys who are like this, like this, like this? Or you're wondering, I have dated like 6, 7 guys, but it's like I've dated, I've dated one person 7 times.
Wow, Njambi, sasa nitakwambia nini? I think we take another break. Tukirudi tumalizie, remember tunaongea na Alice Njambi, a life coach, telling us about her experience wakati alikuwa ameolewa na wakati huu ambapo ametoka. Thank you so much. Kindly remember to subscribe to our channel. Welcome back. Tunamalizia kipindi hiki cha Sema na JG. Hii leo tukizungumza na Alice Njambi, a life coach. Na kabla hajaondoka ataweza kutuelezea how we can get to her, how we can contact her. Lakini for now, Njambi, if today your husband or your former husband, baba ya watoto wako, mume wako, a guy you date, aliyekuwa mume wako, a person you dated for 6 years, got married to for 5 years. Leo hii usikie kuna harusi inaitwa hapa nyuma, na yeye ndio bwana harusi, yeye ndiye anaenda kuoa. How would you feel?
I'd be happy for him.
Really?
Yes, na tutaenda na tu dance kwanza sana.
Utaenda mpaka kuimba kwaya huko?
Na tutaenda na tu dance kwanza, cause I think when you go through the process and you're done, and you're really done, then inafika point where you start wishing the best for the other person.
True.
Believe me, at some point, I was like, okay, God, see, agongwa tu na lori leo, you know. But I was like, okay, fine, akigongwa watoto wangu watabaki na nani? And akigongwa, so how is that helping me? Like Kenya, and I think that's when you know yenyewe, you have really forgiven the other person. When you start praying for them, and you start praying for them to be unamushia mazuri yani.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the ultimate where you know yenyewe. And I always tell people, ukiona watu wakigombana huku nje wanavutana nini, please, there's still a lot of anger, bitterness, and
a lot of baggage.
Exactly.
So kwa sababu ya time, just explain to me or to the viewer just 2 things you've learned in your journey.
Okay. The first thing I've learned in my journey, the most important, I would say, which I talk about most of the time, it's self-awareness. Because most of the time, we get to lose ourselves in relationships because either because you're yearning to get married, so yeah, there's a clock and unakimbia kuolewa, or you know, conditioning ya society. Everyone is asking you
Ma pressure,
exactly.
ma auntie,
exactly.
kienda December peke yako.
Exactly. Kila mtu anakuza ako. So
unafika unauliza umekuja peke yako.
Exactly.
Na uko na watoto wako na bado unaulizwa.
That's the thing. And once you get to understand and know yourself, vitu kama hizo hazitakupatia pressure. Because from what I've realized is, like I was mentioning earlier, most of us think we are aware of ourselves, but we are not. And aware of myself is asking myself, so as Alice, what do I want? When it comes to relationships, what kind of a relationship do I want? What am I seeking in this relationship? And apart from what I'm seeking in this relationship, what am I giving? You know, which is something that we rarely think about. Unapatana na mtu, your heart goes, oh, nampenda, tunaenda, mnaanza kudate huko mbele mza, okay, what the heck, I didn't see this, or I saw this and I didn't see it. But once you come from that point of nimejielewa and this is what I want, then it's easy when it shows up, it's easy to say, yeah, that is what I want. And when it does not show up that way, you're willing and you're comfortable to sit and say, you know what, that is not what I want, and I'm willing to wait for what I want.
Yes.
That time, your pressure, society, nini, or whatever, it won't get you because we're mwenye unajielewa. So self-awareness is very important. Then something tied to self-awareness, look for validation and affirmation within yourself. Because most of us are seeking affirmation and validation from outside of
the
ourselves.
society.
Yes. And we are looking for it either in the possessions that we have. We want to have a good home, a good house, a good car, nini. And those things are not bad, but it's because we are thinking this is what will define and, you know, and affirm me. And then you get that and you feel,
totally empty.
Exactly. Bado ijatosha. And we go out and, you know, seeking for that affirmation, but you can never find it elsewhere. You know, we go out looking for people to fill the holes, the emotional holes, H-O-L, mashimo, H-O-L, yes, that we have, but no one can do your healing for you. No one can fill those holes, because if they do, and sometimes we think they do, but if they do, that means they'll have to act in a certain way.
True.
For them to make you feel the way they felt. Which means then, even when you start that relationship, it's not authentic, because what you're telling them is, please, for you to make me happy, you have to behave
like this.
Yeah. So when that person does not behave like that, then you don't feel the way they make you feel. Then you start wondering.
So listening to you, you're discussing about expectations. We sit down and say, this is what the man I expect to date should be like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're saying we do away with this rubbish. Yeah? We deal with ourselves first, and we are going to meet our match.
Yes.
Did I get it?
Yes, you did, but just a bit of correction. I don't think it's rubbish. It is important, but maybe to emphasize is that should not be the main point of focus.
Okay.
The main point of focus should be myself. For me to have this kind of a person, what kind of a person am I?
Yes, and what are you giving?
Exactly. For me to ask of this from the other individual, what am I giving myself? Because most of the time, tuko na hii list, by the way, tumeiombea, tumepeleka kanisa, sijui nini, you know.
Please. List ya maombi, unajua mi uomba. Na naziombeaga,
No, ni vizuri kuziombea, but even as we are praying for them, are we asking God also make me this kind of a person?
Yes, now we are talking. More often than not, we want to pray that God change my husband.
Yes.
God, just make him to stop doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
But have you gone to God and told God, you know, God, I'm a weak vessel.
Yeah.
Use me.
Yeah.
Let me learn how to approach my husband
Yeah.
in a manner that will make him change his ways.
Yeah. Funnily enough, as you've mentioned that, I always think it's so funny because at some point in my marriage, I used to go for Bible study sessions a lot, and sometimes I used to go to ndio nitik point ndio
The Proverb 31 woman.
Yes. And funnily enough, he always used to be prayer item number 1, as in vile tu unasema, we are going to pray for him to change. We are going to pray for him to change. But there is no one point I ever asked myself, okay, yenye God nimeombea umse nimefast nime nini, how about me?
Yes.
I never got until way later ndo niko na yenyewe when now I was doing the evaluation like yenyewe that was I had to get to a point where I would laugh at myself and say yenyewe that is part of my learnings.
Wow. Njambi, it was a pleasure talking to you. Nataka uangalie ile kamera and talk to that single woman or that woman, let's not even classify them. That woman ambaye hajijui, talk to them. Talk to that single parent, that married woman, that woman who is somewhere trying to make things work by trying to change the other person. Just talk to them. Tumia ile camera.
All right. What I would say from my own experience is, let me just put it differently. If you're single and you're looking to be married, please don't be in a hurry. Don't look at the red flags and ignore them, because believe me, they will come out. Those red flags don't disappear. They don't disappear because you have dated for long. They don't disappear because now you have a ring on your finger or you're staying together. If anything, that's when they come out even more. So if you're single and you're waiting, just be patient. You know, you'd rather even wait for some time and get to do it right with the right person than jump on this ship and then at some point mkiuko kwa ocean, you're wondering, okay, what the heck, how did I get myself here, and how do I, if I jump out, there are sharks. If I'm here, I don't have peace. So please don't get there. Just learn from us. For someone who is married and is wondering, I can't stand my partner, this is not what I signed up for, I want to leave, I would say just take time, don't be in a hurry to leave. Take time and get to know yourself. Get to understand how is it that you got into that situation where you're at. And here I'm not saying that it's your fault as in when do umefika hapo, but just try and understand how you got into that situation. Because I know for sure we rarely ever get to meet demons and say, I met a demon, he was nasty, and I married him because I was sacrificing my life. No, you always meet an amazing person, but then something happens uko katikati and, you know, things sort of change. So before you pack up your bags and leave, just try and just, you know, picture and get to understand how you got there, how you can probably get yourself out of there, and just like Joyce had mentioned, it's all about you. It's not about the other individual. So what role are you playing in that relationship? How are you showing up in that relationship? What is your responsibility? Because most of the time we just look at the other person, but look at your own role and what you're doing and not doing, and just work on yourself. And if it ever gets to a point where this is not for me and we are not meant to be together, then you'll be walking out from a very different mindset, you know? you won't be walking out bitter or angry or just wondering what happened. By the time if it ever gets to that point, by the time it gets to that point, then it will be from a whole different angle, which is actually emotionally healthy for you. And then lastly, if you're divorced or if you are a single parent, then don't be in a hurry to get back with the person or get into a new relationship. Just get to understand yourself, get to have a relationship with yourself. You know, it's amazing how we want to date other people, we want to get to know them, what they like, what they don't like, how they react when, you know, this happens or that happens, but we rarely get to make time for ourselves and think about that. How do I, you know, why do I react this way? Mbona kisema hivi, I get annoyed. Where did this come from and all that? Just take time and just get to have a relationship with yourself and just get time to work on yourself. And by the time you're meeting the person that you'd want to meet, then you're not meeting on a point of I am coming with emotional holes and you're coming with emotional holes, HOLES, hoping that you'll make me whole. Apana, it's coming, it's more of I'm coming as a complete individual, and I'm coming in to compliment you, and you're also coming in to compliment me, and it's not like kuna hizi mashimo zimebaki that I am just waiting for you to come and complete.
Wow, that's so nice. And so kuna watu wangetaka wazungumze nawe, maybe mambo ya life coaching. How do they get you?
You can get me online. I'm on Facebook, alicejambi.thelifecoach. I am on Instagram as well, Alice the Conscious Coach, and at Twitter, Conscious Talks.
Umesikia Njambi amesema, just like me, amefika mahali, anaona anataka mtu. What kind of a person, by the way, if I may ask? Because for me, I made it very clear, it has to be God-fearing, number one.
Yes.
If you're not God-fearing, you're not discussing. You have to be mature. Mimi sitaki ku mambo ya vijana wadogo. Yes. What kind of a man?
Let me add mature, God-fearing, and God-fearing for me comes from the point of they're more spiritual than religious. And
Yes.
religious here, people will come and throw at you, you know, 3-4 Bible verses and yet maisha yao and what they're saying is totally different.
True.
So spiritual, mature, someone who is very secure in themselves and in their own abilities, and peaceful, joyful, humorous.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you're out there na umesikia masharti ama yale Njambi angependa kutoka kwako.
And a mentor to my children.
Yes, talk to us. Unakuja ukiwa package, Waambie unakuja ukiwa package.
Exactly, nakamnikiwa package.
Yes, talk to us, but also kindly remember to subscribe to our channel. Na vile tuandikie if you're out there and you want to share your story. Zungumza nasi at joyce.gituro@gmail.com. joyce.gituro@gmail.com. Ukituandikia tu, we'll get back to you and we'll give you an opportunity to share your story. Thank you so much once again, Gracia Gardens Hotel, Dennis Pritt Road, kwa kutupea nafasi hii ya ajabu kukaa hapa na kukuletea mazungumzo haya. Till next week, God bless you.